Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on a really profound exploration, I think. We're looking into the ideas of a visionary whose thoughts, well, they remain incredibly relevant today, just as much as they were over a century ago. Swami Vivekānanda. Our source material for this deep dive, it comes from extracts of his really significant work, My Idea of Education by Swami Vivekānanda.
A foundational text.
Absolutely. And our mission here, it's to truly understand Vivekananda's deep thoughts on education and religion, to explore the core of his philosophy and, see how his insights can empower you, the listener, in today's complex world.
And we're about to dive deep, you're right. And as you pointed out, Vivekananda's ideas aren't just, abstract philosophy floating around. They actually offer a practical blueprint for what he called man-making education.
Man-making, yeah.
So today we'll get into quite a bit. His early life, the influences on him, his really revolutionary definition of education, its ambitious goals, and its inherent connection to social justice. That's key. And importantly, we'll examine that intricate relationship between religion and education in his whole framework, which honestly is often misunderstood.
Absolutely. It definitely needs unpacking.
Yeah.
So, all right, without further ado, let's get into this fascinating legacy.
Swami Vivekānanda, the visionary educationist.
Okay, let's begin, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Swami Vivekānanda, born Narendranath Datta, Kolkata, 1863. His childhood, his family background, they were quite unique, weren't they?
They really were.
His father, Vishwanath Datta, a liberal-minded attorney.
Yeah.
And his mother, Bhuvaneshwar Devi, known for her piety, her kindness. How did this combination, this really quite congenial atmosphere, how did it shape young Narendranath, his personality, his intellectual curiosity?
Well, that's a crucial starting point, actually. Narendranath's home provided this pretty rare environment where intellectual freedom and, deep spiritual devotion, they just coexisted.
Right.
Harmoniously. From his father, he clearly inherited a sharp reasoning power, very liberal views, and a really keen interest in arts literature. Vishwanath Datta was actually quite skeptical of conventional religious practices.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which maybe inadvertently encouraged Narendranath to question things, to investigate, seek answers for himself, rather than just blindly accepting dogma.
Okay, so it fostered a critical mind.
Exactly. A scientific temper, you could say. But then, conversely, his mother, Bhuvaneshwari Devi, she imparted this profound sense of piety, self-control, compassion. Her storytelling, full of Indian epics and traditions, it deeply fortified his moral foundation, his spiritual yearning.
Right. So a real balance.
A unique blend, yeah. Rationality and spirituality, deeply ingrained from his earliest years. It really prepared him, I think, for the monumental role he'd later play.
And what about his, extraordinary mental abilities? You hear about his deep interest in meditation right from childhood. There's that famous story, the Cobra incident, where he was supposedly so engrossed in meditation that his friends all fled in fear, but he just stayed put, completely unmoving.
Yeah, quite a story.
What does that tell us about his, early capacity for concentration? And how did this maybe connect to his later ideas on the power of concentration in education? His self-control, too, it sounds remarkable. Staying calm in dramatic situations, were these qualities just inherent?
The Cobra anecdote, it's a perfect illustration, really, of his nascent, extraordinary concentration power. I mean, while his friends were understandably overwhelmed by fear and ran, Narendra remained deeply absorbed. That shows an unusual mental discipline, especially for a child.
Definitely.
And this wasn't just, a game. It was a clear sign of his innate ability to focus, a quality he'd later emphasize again and again as essential for true knowledge. Remember, he explicitly said, "To me, the very essence of education is concentration of mind, not the collecting of facts."
Right, that core idea.
Exactly. And his remarkable self-control, his ability to stay calm amidst chaos, that was also striking. These qualities, fearlessness, inner strength, immense focus, they seem inherent, yes, but they were also clearly continuously cultivated through self-discipline. It set the stage for him to become this formidable spiritual leader and educator capable of facing huge challenges.
His life then took its most significant turn, arguably, with his first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna in 1881.
A pivotal moment.
Narendranath, with his typical directness, famously asked, "Do you believe in God, sir?" And Sri Ramakrishna's iconic reply, "Yes, I see him just as I see you here, only in a much intenser sense." That apparently just transformed his entire life.
It really did.
The power of that encounter, sometimes summarized by the quote, "One touch, one glance, can change a whole life."
How profound was the spiritual impact of that meeting, really?
Well, profound almost doesn't cover it. This meeting was, without exaggeration, a watershed moment. It irrevocably shifted Narendranath's intellectual skepticism, his need for proof, into a verifiable spiritual experience.
He approached Sri Ramakrishna not with blind faith, remember? He was this logical, scientifically minded seeker demanding direct proof.
Right.
So when Sri Ramakrishna asserted his literal experience of God, seeing him in a much intenser sense, well, it completely shattered Narendranath's previous abstract notions of divinity.
Must have been mind-blowing.
Totally. This wasn't just a philosophical debate. It felt like a direct, irrefutable spiritual realization for him. That touch, one glance, it wasn't just poetic license. It seemed to ignite his dormant spiritual consciousness, providing undeniable proof, for him at least, that religion wasn't merely faith or dogma, but a verifiable experience. This encounter was the ultimate catalyst. It transformed Narendranath from a seeker into a realizer of truth, paving the way for him to become Swami Vivekānanda. It laid the foundation for his entire spiritual and philosophical structure, proving in his mind that the divine is an experiential reality.
And Sri Ramakrishna's influence, it went beyond just that initial spark, right? He personally practiced disciplines from Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, and found that all paths ultimately lead to the same God.
He lived it.
This message of the harmony of religions, it wasn't just preached, but lived by him. How did Sri Ramakrishna's own life become this living example? And how did that inspire Narendranath to become a world teacher?
Sri Ramakrishna's life was the ultimate practical demonstration of that unity. He didn't just, intellectually advocate for it. He truly embodied it. By personally immersing himself in the spiritual practices of various faiths, Vaishnava Bhakti, Tantra, even Islamic and Christian mysticism, he experienced the same ultimate reality through these diverse paths.
That's incredible dedication.
It is. And this profound, direct realization was immensely impactful on Narendranath. It expanded his spiritual horizon way beyond any sectarian boundaries. Instead of seeing religions as separate, conflicting doctrines, he started to perceive them as, different rivers flowing towards the same ocean.
A classic metaphor, but powerful.
Very. And this universal outlook became a cornerstone of Swami Vivekananda's own teachings, most powerfully articulated, of course, in his famous address at the World's Parliament of Religions. He didn't just tolerate other religions, he passionately advocated for their acceptance and harmony. He truly became a world teacher by embodying and spreading this universal vision, showing humanity a path beyond religious strife.
So following his time with Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekānanda embarked on his Bharat Yatra, his wandering monk phase across India.
Yes, a crucial period.
He directly witnessed the crushing poverty, the rigid caste system that neglected the masses, oppression of women, the flaws in the education system. This journey solidified his life's mission, encapsulated in, we have to give back to the nation its lost individuality and raise the masses. How crucial was this direct experience in defining his mission for man-making and character-building education?
Oh, absolutely crucial. His Bharat Yatra was arguably the most transformative period in shaping his social mission. It wasn't just a physical journey. It was an intense pilgrimage where he intimately experienced the suffering and degradation of the Indian people.
We didn't just read about it.
Exactly. He lived among the poor, shared their struggles, witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of centuries of oppression and a flawed education system that had systematically stripped people of their self-respect, their agency, their very individuality. He realized that despite India's rich spiritual heritage, its people were shackled by ignorance and material poverty. This first-hand knowledge solidified his conviction that India's regeneration depended entirely on addressing these fundamental social issues.
So the quote, give back, lost individuality and raise the masses, that came right from this experience.
It perfectly captures the essence of his burning resolve. It wasn't some abstract philosophical ideal. It was a deeply felt, urgent necessity born from the raw realities he saw. This direct immersion in the lives of the downtrodden led directly to his unique vision of man-making and character-building education, which he believed was the only sustainable solution to uplift the masses from within.
Okay, so his personality and philosophy were shaped by sort of four major influences, as outlined in the source. First, British rule and English education. He saw the impact of British rule, the promise versus the reality of English education, which he felt produced, in his words, only few hundred modernized, has-educated, and denationalized men.
A harsh critique?
Yeah. And he was also influenced by Herbert Spencer's evolutionism, even translating Spencer's book Education into Bengali, while simultaneously deeply studying Indian Sanskrit scriptures. How did this fascinating contrast, this blend of East and West, shape his educational philosophy?
Yeah, that influence of British rule and English education was critical and, frankly, complex. Vivekananda wasn't inherently against modern education. He admired Western science, rational thought. But he sharply criticized the colonial system for, as you said, denationalizing Indians, creating this class of half-educated and denationalized men disconnected from their own rich cultural roots.
Right, the alienation aspect.
Precisely. It was a profound critique of an education that produced clerks, not thinkers, individuals alienated from their heritage. Yet his intellectual curiosity was immense. He delved into Western thinkers like Herbert Spencer, whose ideas on evolutionism and education he found compelling enough to translate his book Education and even correspond with them.
So he wasn't closed off?
Not at all. That shows his open-mindedness. But parallel to this, he profoundly immersed himself in Indian Sanskrit scriptures, absorbing the spiritual wisdom of his ancestors. This dual exposure allowed him to synthesize the best of both worlds, advocating for an education that was modern, scientific, practical, yet deeply rooted in Indian spiritual and cultural values. He wanted a balance, integrating Western knowledge without cultural alienation.
Okay, the second major influence, Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual depth and wisdom. You mentioned how Sri Ramakrishna harmonized intellectual, emotional, ethical, spiritual elements within himself. How did seeing that holistic integration in his master impact Vivekananda's own vision for human development?
Sri Ramakrishna's influence was, without doubt, paramount. He wasn't just a teacher, he was a living embodiment of the spiritual truths he preached. Vivekananda observed that his master had flawlessly harmonized all these dimensions, intellectual, emotional, ethical, spiritual, within his own being.
A living example.
Exactly. Sri Ramakrishna's life taught Vivekananda that true education goes far beyond just accumulating facts or intellectual skill. It's about integrating the mind with pure emotions, strong ethical principles, and profound spiritual realization. This holistic development was precisely what Vivekananda later called man-making education. His master showed him that real knowledge isn't just head knowledge, but a transformative process engaging the entire personality, intellect, emotion, will, spirit. This first-hand experience profoundly shaped Vivekananda's educational philosophy, making him prioritize character and spiritual growth as the ultimate goals, not just academic or professional success.
The third influence was his family. His parents provided that strong moral and cultural foundation, that innate desire for knowledge he had from childhood. How did his family environment keep fueling that intellectual fire?
Yes, his family's influence, though maybe sometimes overlooked, was fundamental. His parents, with their unique mix of liberalism and deep piety, provided an incredibly nurturing and intellectually stimulating environment. This foundation gave him the moral grounding and cultural appreciation that would define his later work.
Right.
That intrinsic desire for knowledge, evident in Narendranath from his earliest days, was consistently fueled by his family's intellectual atmosphere. His father encouraged critical thinking, exposure to diverse ideas, while his mother instilled deep respect for spiritual traditions and ethical conduct.
So it nurtured both sides again.
Exactly. This combination cultivated an innate curiosity and a strong sense of integrity that stayed with him, driving him relentlessly to seek ultimate truths and dedicate himself to humanity's welfare. It was this robust ethical and intellectual base that allowed him to assimilate complex ideas and articulate a philosophy with universal resonance.
And finally, the fourth major influence, his first-hand knowledge of India, gained through those extensive wanderings as a monk.
The Farid Yatra.
By traveling the entire country, he truly understood the real needs. It was during this period he really grasped the meaning of Sarvabhutahaitrata, being devoted to the welfare of all beings. How did this direct immersion specifically refine his understanding of this ancient concept? Why was this first-hand experience so critical?
This fourth influence was perhaps the most profoundly transformative in crystallizing his social mission. Those extensive wanderings weren't just an ascetic pursuit, they were an immersive experience. He directly witnessed the stark realities, poverty, ignorance, severe social inequality.
Phenomenal.
He didn't just theorize, he lived among the masses, experienced their suffering, saw their immense, untapped potential. This direct observation, coupled with deep empathy, deepened his understanding of Sarvabhutahaitrata. It moved from being an abstract philosophical concept to a burning, personal, urgent mission.
It became real for him.
Absolutely. This firsthand experience made him realize that true spirituality couldn't stay confined to monasteries or personal salvation. It had to translate into selfless service to humanity, especially the most marginalized. It was this profound realization that ignited his passionate efforts to uplift the masses through education and social reform, making human service an integral part of spiritual practice.
His appearance at the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago, 1893, a truly historic moment where he represented Hinduism, his powerful emphasis on the unity and acceptance of all religions. How did that specific message elevate India's self-respect on the global stage? And how did it effectively counter the deep-rooted prejudices Westerners held about India then?
Oh, that appearance was a massive turning point in global perception. Before him, India was largely viewed in the West through a colonial lens, often seen as exotic, superstitious, impoverished. Western scholars, influenced by colonial narratives, often dismissed Indian philosophy as primitive.
Right, the common stereotypes.
Exactly. Vivekānanda, with his regal presence, vast intellect, profound spiritual depth, and commanding oratory, completely shattered those stereotypes. When he began his address with Sisters and Brothers of America, it created an immediate electric connection. A 2-minute standing ovation, apparently.
Wow.
He didn't just present Hinduism, he presented a universal message of religious harmony, mutual respect, acceptance of all faiths as different, valid paths to the same God. This was revolutionary.
It must have been.
It instilled immense pride and self-respect in Indians worldwide, showing their ancient heritage wasn't just valid, but offered profound insights to the modern world. And it fundamentally reshaped Western perceptions. It was an awakening for many Westerners to India's spiritual depth and intellectual richness, helping dismantle centuries of prejudice. He single-handedly shifted India's image from a land of snake charmers to a spiritual beacon.
In 1897, he established the Ramakrishna Mission, an organized movement for humanitarian service, educational, cultural, medical relief work. It's striking that UNESCO's Director General, Federico Mayer, acknowledged in 1993 the similarity between the Ramakrishna Mission's constitution and UNESCO's own, emphasizing shared values like human-centric approaches, tolerance, cultural diversity, common heritage. How significant is that international acknowledgement? What does it tell us about the timeless relevance of his vision?
That recognition by UNESCO's Director General is hugely significant. It underscores the universal appeal and enduring relevance of Vivekananda's vision. He founded the Ramakrishna Mission not as a religious sect, but as a practical instrument for selfless service, embodying the Vedantic principle of serving God in every human.
Service is worship.
Precisely. Its constitution, drafted by Vivekananda himself, was incredibly far-sighted, focusing on holistic development and aid for the suffering masses, irrespective of caste, creed, or nationality. Mayer's statement, almost a century later, that its constitution shared fundamental similarities with UNESCO's placing humans at the center, promoting tolerance, cultural diversity, common heritage highlights just how forward-thinking and universal Vivekananda's ideals were.
Way ahead of his time.
Absolutely. He was a pioneer in envisioning a holistic human development that transcends narrow nationalistic or religious boundaries, much like modern international organizations strive for today. It validates his place as a global visionary whose ideas paved the way for modern humanitarian efforts and interfaith dialogue.
And finally, let's touch on Bilur Math and the ultimate goal of man-making. There's that powerful story about him declining Sir Jamshedji Tas's offer to lead a science institute, staying focused on his mission.
Yes, a telling anecdote.
He would famously inspire his followers, asking, "Couldn't you give away one life for the sake of others?" And his passing at the young age of 39, apparently in a yogic state. His entire life really served as a testament to his teachings, didn't it?
Indeed, that incident with Tata perfectly encapsulates Vivekananda's unwavering commitment to his core mission of man-making. Tata, a visionary industrialist, offered him leadership of a cutting-edge science institute, a huge opportunity for material and scientific influence.
Right.
But Vivekananda declined, not because he was anti-science, he deeply valued Western science, but because his primary goal wasn't just material or scientific advancement. His focus was deeper, more fundamental, the transformation of human beings.
And their development.
Exactly. He saw a profound need to awaken the spiritual and moral potential within individuals. His question, couldn't you give away one life for the sake of others, wasn't rhetorical. It was a direct call to selfless service, sacrifice, spiritual awakening principles he embodied completely. His passing at 39, reportedly in a deep yogic state, further underscores his spiritual attainment and complete dedication. His entire life, from intellectual rigor to compassionate action and spiritual depth, was a living testament to the truths he preached and the man-making mission he pursued. 1.2, the true meaning of education.
Okay, so Swami Vivekananda's definition of education. It's really well known, right?
Extremely famous, yes.
Education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. Let's really, dig into that. What are the deep meaning of manifestation here?
Manifestation is absolutely the key word in this profound definition. It means that knowledge isn't something external that gets poured into an empty mind. No, it signifies that knowledge is already present within every human being, intrinsically.
Okay.
So education then isn't about imparting something totally new, but rather about unveiling, revealing, drawing out what is inherently hidden within. Vivekananda used that brilliant example of Isaac Newton.
The apple.
Right. The law of gravitation wasn't in the apple, it was within Newton's mind, just waiting to be discovered.
Ah, I see the distinction.
Similarly, he likened knowledge to a spark hidden within flint, needing only the strike of suggestion to bring it out. This implies spontaneous growth, innate potential. It suggests the primary role of education is to remove the obstacles that prevent this internal perfection from expressing itself. It's unfolding, not just accumulating.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. So what's the profound implication of the phrase, already in man? It suggests every individual possesses inherent potential, abilities, talents. Right? These simple words hold such depth.
Absolutely. The phrase already in man carries immense philosophical weight. It fundamentally implies that every human being, by their very nature, is a repository of infinite potential, abilities, talents. We aren't born as empty vessels for tabula rasa.
Blank slates.
Exactly. We're more like wells of infinite knowledge and power that just need to be tapped and revealed. The blueprint for perfection is intrinsically present.
Okay.
Now, to give this a bit more structure, the philosopher Israel Scheffler talked about potential in 3 aspects, which align really well here. First, capacity, Costa. This is the inherent latent ability to acquire something or develop into something. Like a child might have the capacity to be a great musician even before touching an instrument. Raw potential.
Got it.
Second, propensity, pravriti. This is about what a person is likely to do given the chance. It points to motivation, inclination. Like a child shows a strong propensity for problem solving.
Okay.
An internal drive.
Okay, the drive.
And third, capability, samarthya. This is about motivation and efficiency in working towards an outcome. The strength to overcome obstacles, lack of motivation, environmental barriers, etc. It's the active process of removing blockages.
Right.
So taken together, these emphasize different facets of education. Making learning possible, capacity, facilitating its development, propensity, and leading to self-empowerment, capability. A truly holistic education guides a child to identify and harmoniously develop their potentials, not impose standardized skills.
And what does perfection signify in this definition? That's surely the ultimate goal.
Precisely. Perfection here means completion, fullness, purnata. The English word perfect implies something made whole, finished, brought to its highest state. The Greek telex also means attaining a goal or end.
Okay.
So, in Vivekananda's context, perfection is the ultimate goal of actualizing the highest human potential. It's not superficial flawlessness, but realizing the inherent divine nature within. It means achieving a state where all faculties, intellectual, emotional, ethical, spiritual, are fully developed, integrated, harmonized. A complete integrated personality. That comprehensive blossoming is Vivekananda's true end of education.
Goals of education and its relation to social justice. 2.1, 2 main goals of education.
Okay, so Vivekananda viewed the goal of education on 2 distinct but connected levels, metaphysical and empirical. Could you elaborate on these 2 levels? How do they fit together in his vision?
Yeah, his philosophy is grounded in these 2 crucial levels, giving it that comprehensive, holistic framework. The first is the metaphysical sense. This is the ultimate, the spiritual goal.
Self-realization.
Exactly. Realizing the Atman, the soul's ever-perfect divine nature. Vedanta philosophy, which deeply influenced him, says humans aren't born inherently sinful or victims of circumstance. The main cause of suffering is avidya, ignorance of one's true divine nature.
Right, ignorance.
Vivekananda used that beautiful analogy of a lamp inside an iron cask. The divine light is obscured by the cask, just like our divinity is hidden by ignorance. Through purity and unselfishness, he said, we make this obscuring medium less and less dense until it's transparent as glass, letting the divine light manifest. So the metaphysical goal is fundamentally self-realization, unveiling this inherent divinity.
The second level, the empirical level, that must address the practical problems, the challenges within society, right?
Precisely. The second is the empirical level. This focuses on the practical application of education to solve tangible problems in human society. Vivekananda said it very forcefully. The education which does not help the common mass of people to equip themselves for the struggle for life, which does not bring out strength of character, a spirit of philanthropy, and the courage of a lion, is it worth the name?
Wow, strong words.
Very. Real education is that which enables one to stand on one's own legs. Practical utility, self-reliance are paramount. He emphasized education must be life-building, man-making, character-making, assimilation of ideas.
Assimilation, not just collection.
Exactly. Its ultimate aim is to forge an integrated person, improving intellect, purifying emotions, being firm in moral virtues and unselfishness. Education should empower individuals to be self-reliant, courageous, philanthropic, able to face life's challenges and contribute meaningfully. It's not just about getting a job, but living a purposeful, impactful, moral life.
So this clearly means mere bookish knowledge, just knowing stuff, isn't enough for him. And he also seemed to push for lifelong learning.
Exactly right on both counts. Vivekananda vehemently rejected the idea that education is just collecting facts or getting degrees. He often quipped, if education was just information, libraries would be the greatest sages, encyclopedias the true rishis.
Ah, good point.
Shows his disdain for rote learning. Ancient Indian scriptures distinguished paravidya, higher spiritual knowledge, and aparavidya, secular worldly knowledge. For Vivekananda, these weren't separate or opposing.
But connected.
Yes, two ends of a single continuum, both essential for leading towards complete freedom of the soul, complementary aspects of holistic development, and, yes, inspired by his master Sri Ramakrishna's example, as long as I live, so long do I learn. Vivekananda saw education as a continuous, lifelong process. Especially now in this era of knowledge explosion, education has to be dynamic, continuous just to stay relevant, adaptable, effective. It's about assimilating ideas that build character and transform life. 2.2 Social Justice in Education.
Now, Vivekananda deeply linked education with social justice. How did he connect his core ideas, manifestation, perfection already in man, to the social realities of India back then, especially concerning the poor and oppressed?
This connection is absolutely central to his social philosophy. He drew on Patanjali's yoga aphorisms, specifically Tataksha Trikavet, therefore the obstructions.
Okay.
He explained it masterfully in the context of education and social justice. He said, just like a farmer removes blockages from a water channel, letting water flow freely by its own nature. Similarly, teachers and the education system must remove internal and external obstacles to let a person's inherent potential and divinity manifest.
So education removes the blockager.
Exactly. And he identified these obstacles clearly, external obstacles. In his India, they were glaringly obvious: unfair distribution of educational resources, systemic economic inequality, socio-political instability. These deep societal issues basically prevented the vast majority, especially the downtrodden, from accessing any meaningful education.
Right, the big societal stuff.
Exactly, societal barriers. Then internal obstacles. These relate to the dynamics within education itself, the quality of the teacher-student relationship, a student's capacity for independent judgment, their adaptability, their own mental or physical capacities. And these internal challenges were often made worse by the oppressive external conditions.
A vicious cycle.
Definitely. So for Vivekananda, the education system had two huge responsibilities. One, cultivate a healthy, dynamic mind so people can courageously face life's challenges. Two, prevent future social evils so human problems don't get even more complex.
Okay.
And crucially, this was always underpinned by the Vedantic idea. Every human, in their fundamental nature, is pure and divine, a repository of immense possibilities. This core belief made education not just a tool for individual betterment, but a powerful instrument for radical social transformation. If everyone is potentially divine, then everyone inherently deserves the chance to manifest that divinity through education. It was a profound call for equity and empowerment.
So his vision for education was truly inclusive then, aiming to cover everyone, especially the underprivileged.
Precisely. Vivekananda firmly believed the fundamental purpose of society is the well-being and flourishing of its members. An ideal society, he argued, must provide every single member with the resources and opportunities to develop their potential to the absolute maximum.
No exception.
No exceptions. Education had to embrace the entire social fabric, with particular emphasis on those who, for whatever reason, economic, social, historical, couldn't benefit from existing facilities. He was an uncompromising advocate for the downtrodden. He sharply criticized the system for monopolizing knowledge among a handful of men, which he saw as a major cause of India's decline.
He blamed the elite hoarding knowledge.
Directly. He forcefully argued that for India to rise again, education must reach every stratum of society, ensuring equal chance for all, or if greater for some and for some less, the weaker should be given more chance than the strong. This was radical, revolutionary for his time, putting social justice and equity at the very forefront of educational reform. A moral imperative, not just a policy choice.
Core pillars of education. 3.1 Training the mind. Concentration and willpower.
Okay, let's move to the core pillars. Vivekananda placed immense emphasis on mind training. For him, education was never just about accumulating facts or rote memorization. He called concentration the very essence of education. Can you elaborate on why he saw concentration as so absolutely vital?
Yes, absolutely vital. He emphatically stated, "To me, the very essence of education is concentration of mind, not the collecting of facts." He believed true knowledge emerges through profound concentration, not just superficial information gathering.
How so?
Well, he argued that all success, all knowledge acquisition, whether it's a chemist in a lab, an astronomer looking through a telescope, or a student reading a book, fundamentally depends on the power of concentration.
It's the common factor.
It's the common factor. He even said if he had to restart his education, his first priority would be developing concentration and detachment. Only then, with this perfect instrument, would he collect facts at will. This shows his view of the mind as the primary instrument that needs meticulous mastery before any real learning or achievement can happen. An unfocused mind, for him, was incapable of deep understanding or effective action.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
So how does one develop this crucial power of concentration? Did he outline any practical steps or methods?
Yes, he did outline several practical stages for cultivating concentration, seeing it as essential for both intellectual and spiritual growth.
Okay, what are they?
First, collecting the mind. The initial step is learning to control its wandering nature. The mind is always running hither and thither, right? Pulled by countless stimuli. The student must first learn to gather these scattered thoughts, bring them into a more unified field. It takes conscious effort, being more attentive, mindful.
Right, reining it in.
Second, detaching from distractions. Once the mind is somewhat collected, the next step is detaching it from unwanted distractions that pop up. This needs strong willpower to consciously pull the mind away from irrelevant stuff, internal or external, that tries to divert focus, creating mental space.
Quieting the noise.
Exactly. Third, focusing on the desired subject. Finally, with the mind collected and detached, you direct its full undivided force onto the chosen subject. Vivekānanda used that powerful analogy of a convex lens.
Focusing sunlight.
Right. Just as a lens gathers sunlight to a point, generating heat, a concentrated mind focused intensely acquires tremendous power. This focused mental energy, he believed, lets you penetrate the deepest mysteries of any subject and unlock profound truths. And this whole process is deeply tied to cultivating willpower. True willpower develops when the current and expression of will are brought under control and become fruitful. It's not just intellectual, it's strengthening character, resolve, capacity for sustained effort through rigorous mental discipline. Concentration and willpower form the very bedrock for genuine learning.
This brings us to a really important concept in his philosophy, brahmacharya. Vivekananda explicitly linked it to knowledge and willpower. Now, this might seem a bit maybe controversial or old-fashioned today, but it was central for him. Could you explain this connection, especially his concept of ojas?
Right. Brahmacharya is definitely a cornerstone of his educational and spiritual philosophy, and he spoke about it with remarkable clarity and emphasis. And yes, he introduced the concept of ojas.
Okay, what is ojas?
According to yogis, ojas is the highest, most refined energy in the human body, stored primarily in the brain. Vivekananda believed the more ojas someone accumulates, the more powerful, intellectually sharp, and spiritually strong they become. He explained ojas isn't just physiological, it's a profound transformation of grosser energies, particularly sexual energy, into a higher spiritual energy.
A transformation of energy.
A sublimation, yes. He stated unequivocally, "It is only the chaste man and woman who can make ojas and store it in the brain. That is why chastity has always been considered the highest virtue." He linked brahmacharya directly to intellectual capacity and memory, proclaiming, "By the observance of strict brahmacharya, all learning can be mastered in a very short time. One acquires unfailing memory of what one hears or knows but once." He said a chaste brain has tremendous energy and gigantic willpower.
Wow. So purity was key to power for him.
Purity of body and mind was absolutely essential for both intellectual greatness and profound moral strength. He saw unchastity not just as a personal failing, but as a cause for national decline. Now, it's important to clarify, his concept of brahmacharya wasn't merely physical celibacy.
Right. It's broader.
Much broader. It encompassed complete control of all senses, thought, word, deed, as Mahatma Gandhi also articulated. The goal was to harness and redirect this immense inner energy towards higher intellectual pursuits, spiritual realization, and ultimately a more powerful, impactful life serving others. Conservation and sublimation of vital energy for the highest human goals. 3.2, the teacher-student relationship.
In India, the Guru Shishya Parampara, the teacher-student tradition, holds immense significance. How did Vivekānanda envision the ideal relationship between a teacher and a people? How does this contrast with, say, modern education?
The Guru Shishya Parampara is profoundly significant, and Vivekānanda viewed this relationship as sacred and transformative, starkly different from many modern models. He declared, "The only true teacher is he who can immediately come down to the level of the student and transfer his soul to the student's soul and see through the student's eyes and hear through his ears and understand through his mind."
That's incredibly deep, transferring his soul.
It signifies that a true teacher doesn't just transmit information. They have this unique ability to connect deeply, empathize, understand the student's needs, recognize their inherent potential. The teacher's function for him was a transfer of something real and appreciable as an influence, going beyond just stimulating existing faculties. It's about sharing conviction, moral authority, and inspiring influence, making the student feel dignified, self-respecting.
Like a real mentorship.
Exactly. In ancient India, students often lived with teachers in Guru Grihavasa, the teacher's home, fostering intimate contact that facilitated this deep transfer of knowledge and character.
That's a beautiful idea of a teacher's role. So what responsibilities did Vivekānanda place on the student in this relationship? It sounds like a truly mutual thing.
Oh, unequivocally mutual. The student's receptivity is just as crucial as the teacher's ability to impart. The student, according to Vivekānanda, must cultivate Shraddha.
Shraddha, what does that entail?
It's a multifaceted term. It includes unwavering faith in oneself, profound humility, a spirit of submission to the teacher's wisdom, and genuine veneration for the teacher. The Taittiriya Upanishad famously says, Acharya Devo Bhava, let the teacher be regarded as divine, worthy of utmost reverence.
Oh.
This Shraddha is fundamental for creating a fertile environment for learning, allowing the student's innate strength and knowledge to manifest fully. The traditional Indian system was unique. Students often didn't pay fees. Teachers taught them must-free, sometimes provided food and clothes, supported by wealthy families or the community.
Very different from today.
Very. It fostered a sacred bond rooted in mutual trust, profound respect, selfless giving, rather than a transactional exchange, which can unfortunately characterize much of modern education. The ideal was a spiritual relationship for the student's holistic growth. 3.3 character building and universal values.
Okay, another central theme for Vivekānanda, man-making and character building. How fundamentally different is this from today's largely career-oriented education, where the focus is almost entirely on skills and getting a job?
There is a profound fundamental difference. While contemporary education is largely career-focused, acquiring skills for economic purposes, Vivekānanda's ultimate aim was man-making. He was deeply influenced by Sri Ramakrishna, who taught that manush, human being, must become a manush, a true man, someone whose spiritual consciousness is awakened and integrated. Vivekānanda proclaimed this as the ideal of all education.
The ideal.
He lamented the education system of his time, feeling it focused merely on superficial externals. He said, "We are always trying to polish up the outside. What use in polishing up the outside when there is no inside? The end and aim of all training is to make the man grow."
The inner growth.
Exactly. He explained a human isn't just body and mind, but has 5 koshas, or sheaths: physical, vital, mental, intellectual, and blissful. He critically noted that modern education, at best, touches only the first 4, tragically neglecting the crucial 5th, the blissful sheath, Anandamaya Kosha.
The blissful sheath.
He saw it as the reservoir of true bliss, knowledge, and inherent strength. Neglecting the spiritual dimension, he warned, leads to imbalanced development. Knowledge without wisdom, power without discrimination, become perilous. He cautioned that purely intellectual education, devoid of ethical and spiritual grounding, could make individuals 10 times more selfish, potentially leading to societal destruction, not upliftment.
That raises a crucial question. Does this mean religion should be an integral part of education? Many people today might see that as conflicting with secularism or promoting dogma.
Well, Vivekananda strongly advocated for spiritual and ethical culture in education, seeing religion as the innermost core of education. But, and this is absolutely vital by religion, he did not mean any particular dogma, sectarian beliefs, or rituals.
Okay, that's a key distinction.
Crucial. He referred to the true eternal principles that fundamentally inspire every religion, universal values like truthfulness, purity, unselfishness, love, integrity, self-sacrifice. The underlying spiritual truths common to all faiths.
The essence, not the form.
Precisely. He believed these universal principles are what genuinely touch the heart, transform motivations from self-centeredness to altruism, and impart immense mental strength and a broad, inclusive outlook. He asserted morality means making the subject strong by attuning it to the absolute. So education should be rooted in the science of spirituality, the universal exploration of inner truths and ethical living, not narrow, divisive dogma. This approach builds character on timeless, universal values, making it perfectly compatible with a truly secular, inclusive society that respects all faiths while upholding core human virtues.
So how exactly is this character built then? Is it just through lectures or is it more dynamic?
Oh, it's a dynamic and deeply personal process for Vivekananda, far more profound than just lectures. He powerfully said, each thought is a little hammer blow on the lump of iron which our bodies are, manufacturing out of it what we want it to be.
Wow, vivid imagery.
Isn't it? It implies every single thought, every action leaves an indelible impression, a sanskara, on the mind. The cumulative sum of these impressions over time solidifies into character. So by consciously cultivating desirable habits and positive thoughts through repetition and mindful action, character can be continually reshaped.
We build ourselves thought by thought.
In essence, yes. He also placed immense emphasis on the teacher's personality. He believed the teacher's character and living example exert far greater influence than words alone. He famously said, words, even thoughts, contribute only 1/3 of the influence. The man, 2/3.
The person matters more than the words.
Exactly. Teachers must be moral exemplars, embodying the values they wish to impart. Classrooms shouldn't just be for intellectual instruction, but arenas for teaching ethics, where students actively experience and imbibe moral values through interaction and observation. His ideal man concept envisioned all-round development, where all men were so constituted that in their minds all these elements of philosophy, mysticism, emotion, and of work were equally present in full. That is the ideal. This resonates strongly with modern frameworks like UNESCO's Learning to Be report, 1972, emphasizing physical, intellectual, emotional, and ethical integration into a complete man. So, character building is active, holistic, continuous, profoundly influenced by thoughts, actions, and inspiring role models.
Social expansion of education. 4.1 Education for the Masses and Social Reform.
Okay, let's talk about the social expansion. Vivekananda was a true champion of the poor and the weak. He famously called the neglect of the masses India's great national sin. How did he connect education to liberation from this sin? What did he see as the main obstacle to national advancement?
He passionately declared the neglect of the masses India's great national sin, and he asserted with total conviction that no amount of politics would be of any avail until the masses in India are once more well-educated, well-fed, and well-cared for.
Education first, then politics.
That was his conviction. A nation truly advances only when education and intelligence permeate every segment, reaching the lowest rungs. He unequivocally identified the root cause of India's historical downfall as the monopolizing of the whole education among a handful of men. The privileged classes hoarding knowledge.
Right.
He believed it was the moral imperative, the sacred duty of these upper classes whose education and prosperity often came at the expense of the poor's labor and sacrifice to actively uplift them. He articulated a radical principle of equity. There must be equal chance for all, or if greater for some and for some less. The weaker should be given more chance than the strong.
Prioritize the weak. That is radical.
Absolutely. A revolutionary call for educational equity and profound social responsibility. He saw education not just for individual betterment, but as the most potent lever for national regeneration, the means to restore dignity, self-respect, agency to the long-suffering masses.
But practically speaking, how would the poor attend traditional schools when they had to earn a living just to survive? A huge challenge then, and still is now.
This was precisely where his revolutionary genius shone. He totally understood the practical economic barriers. This led him to famously declare, if the mountain does not come to Muhammad, Muhammad must go to the mountain. Meaning,
bring education to the people.
Exactly. If the poor boy cannot come to education, education must go to him. For this, he proposed a unique, innovative model. organizing self-sacrificing sannyasins, monks, and dedicated individuals as secular teachers.
Monks as teachers.
Yes, filled with the spirit of selfless service. They wouldn't wait for students. They'd journey village to village, door to door, carrying practical tools, cameras, globes, maps, visual aids. They'd impart knowledge, astronomy, geography, basic science, history, vocational skills through engaging storytelling, simple oral teaching, bypassing expensive books and formal schools.
So really meeting them where they are.
Completely. He explicitly emphasized books, etc., won't give them oral teaching. A radical departure from traditional pedagogy, making education truly accessible, relevant, digestible for the masses, overcoming barriers of time, cost, structure, empowering them in their own environment.
He made that very powerful, almost angry statement. I call him a traitor who, having been educated, nursed in luxury by the heart's blood of the downtrodden millions of toiling poor, never even takes a thought for them. That really conveys his deep concern. Can you elaborate on that sentiment?
That quote is one of his most potent, emotionally charged pronouncements. It's a direct, searing condemnation of the educated elite who benefited immensely from societal resources, often at the direct expense of the poor's labor and sacrifice, and then completely neglected the very people who enabled their privilege.
Calling them traitors. Strong stuff.
It shows his profound concern and righteous indignation. He believed the real nation lived in humble cottages, and these millions had forgotten their manhood, their individuality. His call wasn't for charity, but for justice, restitution. He passionately urged that these downtrodden millions are to be given back their lost individuality. They are to be educated.
And not just religious education.
No, crucially, not just religious instruction. It had to be holistic. Science, history, geography, literature, all delivered in their own vernacular languages for maximum accessibility. He exhorted the middle classes, whom he saw as drivers of all great works, to shoulder this immense responsibility. His message was a clarion call for the privileged to actively serve the underprivileged, emphasizing that true national upliftment must originate from within the masses themselves once their eyes are opened to their potential and individuality restored. A moral imperative for every educated Indian. 4.2 Women's Education.
Vivekānanda also gave immense priority to women's education. How did he link it so directly to the destiny of the entire country? That seems incredibly progressive for his time.
He was indeed a fervent advocate, considering it absolutely indispensable for national progress. He articulated a profound understanding. A nation's destiny is inextricably linked to the status, education, and empowerment of its women. He asserted, "They women have many and grave problems, but none that are not to be solved by that magic word, education."
Education as the key.
The key. He recognized women as the primary molders of the next generation, nurturing children from their earliest years. So if women are educated, empowered, instilled with strong character, the whole nation benefits exponentially. Leads to a more enlightened, capable populace. He famously declared, "Educate your women first and leave them to themselves, then they will tell you what reforms are necessary for them."
Wow. Trust women to know what they need.
Exactly. Deep trust in women's agency and inherent wisdom to determine their own path, identify needed reforms, rather than having reforms imposed by men. He saw women as Shakti, divine power, and believed their awakening was key to India's resurgence.
So according to him, what subjects should be included in women's education? Was it just focused on domestic skills, or was it more comprehensive?
While he did include domestic skills, reflecting some norms of his time, his proposed curriculum was far more comprehensive and progressive than it might first seem. It included a strong foundation in history, Puranas, sacred texts, practical aspects like housekeeping, arts, domestic work, and crucially, principles of child upbringing, ethics, character building, plus practical skills like sewing, culinary art for self-sufficiency.
Are quite broad.
But, most importantly, he considered japa, mantra repetition, worship, and meditation indispensable parts of their teaching. Religious and spiritual training formed the core. He believed this spiritual grounding would prevent potential negative consequences of purely intellectual education without a moral foundation.
Balance again.
And furthermore, in a highly forward-thinking move, he highlighted the need to teach women valor, shaurya, and heroism, instilling courage, self-reliance. He even advocated self-defense training, recognizing their vulnerabilities. He observed Western women had achieved intellectuality, but it shouldn't come at the cost of purity. Morality and spirituality were paramount for him, a balanced, holistic development nurturing both intellect and unshakable character.
He also made an interesting comparison between Indian women and American women. What were his observations there?
Yes, he made several insightful observations, highlighting both admiration and concern. He deeply appreciated the purity, freedom, and active involvement of American women in civic duties. He admired how they were well-educated, free as birds, engaged in social and civic life, managing schools, colleges, contributing beyond the domestic sphere.
Things he didn't see as much in India.
Right. He noted few American women married before 20 or 25, allowing more time for education, personal growth, intellectual development, a stark contrast to India's pervasive child marriage and early motherhood. He contrasted this with India, where women were often trained in helplessness and, he lamented, weren't even safe on the streets.
He invoked ancient texts, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
He referenced the Manusmriti, quoting that daughters should be supported and educated with as much care and attention as the sons, and that they too should practice brahmacharya for a period, highlighting a lost tradition of women's learning and self-control. He acknowledged that initially there might be some mistakes or defects in the early stages of female education reforms, but he firmly stressed if the foundation was religion, meaning universal principles of morality and spirituality, not dogma, then these potential defects wouldn't naturally arise. His aim was to empower Indian women with knowledge, character, spiritual strength to uplift themselves and the nation. 4.3 Importance of language in Sanskrit.
What role did language play in education, according to Vivekananda? And what were his thoughts on the importance of both the mother tongue and Sanskrit?
Language was absolutely pivotal for Vivekānanda for effective and widespread education. He emphasized the crucial need for simplicity in books and teaching materials. He suggested compiling short stories from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishads, written in very easy and simple language for children.
Keep it accessible.
Exactly. He stressed that teachers' true greatness lies in their simplicity of language, because knowledge must be imparted so it's easily understandable by everyone. He stated unequivocally, every man is capable of receiving knowledge if it is imparted in his own language. A direct critique of overly complex, artificial, or elitist language used in academic or colonial settings that alienated the masses.
Right.
He also regarded language as the chief means and index of a nation's progress, asserting it must be clear, concise, capable of expressing profound thoughts to truly serve its purpose in national development.
Now, he had a view that some might find controversial today, that Buddha made a mistake by stopping the study of Sanskrit among the masses. This seems to contradict Buddha's focus on reaching people in their vernacular, Pali. Can you explain his reasoning here?
Yeah, this is a nuanced and often misunderstood point. He considered Sanskrit the language of God, a divine language, and asserted Sanskrit and prestige go together in India. His ultimate aim was to extract the gems of spirituality and knowledge from Sanskrit texts and make them the common property of all, regardless of whether they knew Sanskrit.
Okay, so disseminate the ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Therefore, he strongly advocated these universal ideas must be taught in the language of the people, the vernaculars, for widespread understanding. However, he also insisted that Sanskrit education must go on along with it, because the very sound of Sanskrit words gives a prestige and a power and a strength to the race.
So keep Sanskrit alongside the vernacular.
Precisely. He critically analyzed the failures of great reformers, like Ramanuja, Chaitanya, Kabir. While they uplifted the lower classes, Vivekananda noted they did not apply their energies to the spreading of the Sanskrit language among the masses. Similarly, he believed even Buddha made one false step by ceasing Sanskrit study for the masses.
Why false? Buddha reached so many people with Pali.
Buddha preached in Pali for rapid results, which was highly effective. But according to Vivekananda, along with that, Sanskrit ought to have spread. Knowledge came, but the prestige was not there. Culture was not there. He warned that without the parallel dissemination of Sanskrit, a new caste or elite would inevitably arise, holding the intellectual advantage of Sanskrit and ruling over others.
I see. Avoid creating a new knowledge elite.
Exactly. His point wasn't against vernaculars, but for a balanced approach. Modern knowledge in the mother tongue and the profound cultural and historical prestige of Sanskrit both preserved, learned, and broadly disseminated. Ensure no single group monopolizes access to deep knowledge and cultural heritage. 4.4 Technical education and practical experience.
What role did technical skills and education play in modern society, according to Vivekananda? How important did he think vocational training and industrial development were?
He recognized the critical importance of technical education and industrial development as absolutely essential for national self-reliance and individual economic upliftment. He wasn't just a spiritual leader, he was a pragmatist, a visionary. He He profoundly stressed the need to develop industries within India so people, instead of perpetually seeking for service, looking for jobs under others, could earn enough to provide for themselves and save something against a rainy day, achieve economic independence, dignity.
So practical self-sufficiency.
Absolutely. He even put ideas into action, developing a plan to send unmarried graduates to Japan specifically for technical education. The vision was they'd return with practical skills, knowledge, then establish industries, create jobs in India, contributing to national progress.
Wow, he actually planned that.
Yes. He explicitly stated, it would be better if the people got a little technical education so that they might find work and earn their bread instead of dawdling about and crying for service. This shows he advocated a balanced education, integrating spiritual wisdom, secular knowledge, and practical technical skills, all crucial for a strong, self-sufficient nation and empowered individuals.
And what about the significance of practical experience? He famously said, "Experience is the only teacher we have." How did he apply this principle beyond just technical skills?
That phrase, experience is the only teacher we have, is a foundational tenet of his entire educational philosophy, extending far beyond technical skills. Vivekānanda believed mere bookish knowledge or theory, however vast, is utterly insufficient for true wisdom. He stated, "We may talk and reason all our lives, but we shall not understand a word of truth until we experience it ourselves."
You have to live it.
Exactly. He used the surgeon analogy. You can't become skilled just by reading textbooks. Actual practice, hands-on experience are indispensable. You can't understand a country just by looking at a map. You must travel, interact, experience it directly.
Right.
He lamented that lectures won't do any good in this country if not followed by practical application and living examples. He used that powerful metaphor. Hammering rusty iron just makes it crumble unless it's first made red hot. This red-hot state, he explained, represents the power of a living, glowing example. He firmly insisted, nothing will avail in our country without setting a glowing and living example before the people. Education, in its broadest sense, must be experiential, action-oriented, anchored in real-world application, driven by inspiring role models embodying the ideals they teach.
He also placed considerable emphasis on physical strength, which, honestly, often gets overlooked in education systems today. Why was physical well-being so crucial to his vision?
Indeed, he placed significant emphasis on physical strength and robust health, considering it fundamental to overall human development. He frequently asserted that physical weakness was the cause of at least 1/3 of our miseries.
A third? That's a lot.
It is. His philosophy underscored holistic development where body and mind must run parallel. A strong, healthy mind can't fully flourish without a strong, healthy body, and vice versa. He strongly encouraged physical exercise, advocating a system where students learn self-help, get used to using their hands and eyes, meaning be capable of practical work, observing the world.
Not just theory.
Definitely not. He was highly critical of the English education of his time, calling it entirely literary, producing students who are not practical, quite helpless, lacking self-help. He firmly stated, the student must be made to think for himself and work for himself. He believed future adult health is rooted in the child's well-being. Therefore, nothing is more important than that the child must have a strong and healthy body. For Vivekānanda, true education prepared individuals comprehensively for the struggle of life by developing them not just intellectually or morally, but also physically and practically, ensuring they could stand on their own feet in all aspects.
Power of knowledge and the inner nature of man. 5.1, True Nature of Knowledge.
All right, moving towards the nature of knowledge itself. For Vivekānanda, what truly constituted knowledge? Was it just collecting facts, or did he see a much deeper dimension?
Oh, for Vivekānanda, knowledge was profoundly more than just collecting facts. He declared pleasure is not the goal of man, but knowledge, and further, knowledge is the goal of all life. He continuously reiterated his core philosophy. True knowledge is inherently present within us.
Back to that core idea.
Exactly. He proclaimed, all the knowledge that we have in this world, where did it come from? It was within us. What knowledge is outside? None. He firmly believed no one ever created knowledge. Humanity uncovers or manifests it from within, unveiling what's already inherent. He used that metaphor of knowledge being like fire in a piece of flint, needing only a suggestion as friction to bring it forth.
So it's discovery, not acquisition.
Precisely. Therefore, for him, knowledge is an irresistible force. The mind doesn't take or reject it. It merely expresses what's already resident in the infinite self within.
So if knowledge is already within, what were the instruments or means by which he believed one could access and manifest this inner knowledge? Was it solely through intellect?
Not solely through intellect, no. Vivekānanda identified 3 primary instruments for gaining knowledge: instinct, reason, and inspiration.
Okay, explain those.
Instinct is the lowest form, common to animals, providing immediate responses. Reason, superior to instinct, allows logical inference, scientific inquiry, distinguishing humans. But the highest form is inspiration, which transcends both instinct and reason, granting direct, intuitive perception of truth, like the insights of mystics and prophets.
Beyond logic.
Yes. He powerfully asserted, the gift of knowledge is the highest gift in the world, because knowledge alone can make us perfect. And no action can give you freedom, only knowledge can make you free. This highlights his belief that knowledge is the ultimate means to profound liberation and spiritual perfection. He viewed the highest reward of knowledge as knowledge itself, not any external gain. This whole framework reinforces his fundamental Vedantic belief. Divinity and infinite knowledge aren't external achievements, but inherent attributes within everyone, waiting to be manifested through diligent practice and focused inquiry. 5.2 Mental strength and positive thinking.
Vivekānanda placed immense emphasis on mental strength. What was the role of positive thinking and, maybe more importantly, fearlessness in his teachings on cultivating a powerful mind?
Immense emphasis, yes. Mental strength was the bedrock for him. He vehemently urged, never allow weakness to overtake your mind. He connected a significant chunk of human misery directly to physical weakness, and since the mind was a subtle part of the body, it too needed robust strength.
Mind-body connection again.
Absolutely. He strongly warned against the insidious effects of self-deprecating thoughts. I am low, repeating these ideas in the mind, man belittles and degrades himself. He believed true freedom and empowerment come from being constantly awake to one's inherent divine nature and infinite potential. His constant mantra, almost a life philosophy, was, be a hero, always say, I have no fear.
No fear.
For him, fear is death, fear is sin, fear is hell, fear is unrighteousness, fear is wrong life. He saw fear as the root of all negative thoughts, all misery, all limitations. So cultivating absolute fearlessness was paramount to realizing one's true potential and achieving greatness.
Though in his view, our thoughts quite literally create our reality. This sounds very much like some modern ideas, like the law of attraction.
Indeed, he was a firm, unwavering believer in the transformative power of thought. He articulated this principle with striking clarity. We are what our thoughts have made us, so take care of what you think, and even more directly, what we think we become.
Powerful.
Very. He urged people to consciously control their mental landscape. Fill the brain, therefore, with high thoughts, highest ideals, place them day and night before you, and out of that will come great work. He emphasized that profound calmness, stillness of mind, is essential for the emergence of all true knowledge. External books, teachers offer suggestions, pointing towards the inner light. Once that inner light flashes, he taught, discard external aids and look only within.
Trust the inner light.
His message was ultimately one of radical self-empowerment. Never lose faith in yourself. You can do anything in this universe. Never weaken. All power is yours. It teaches us our internal state, the quality of our thoughts, are the primary decisive determinants of our external reality and our capacity to achieve our highest potential. 5.3 Knowledge in music and art.
Beyond traditional academic subjects, what did Vivekānanda say about the role of kala, art, and sangeet, music? Did he see them as integral to a holistic education and cultural development?
Yes, he absolutely did. He saw art and music as integral to comprehensive education and as powerful expressions of deeper truths and cultural heritage. In music, he proudly highlighted India's ancient contributions, the notation system, 7 cardinal notes diatonic scale given to the world as early as 350 BC, way before Europe adopted it.
Really? That early?
Apparently so. He observed that music, especially where notes rapidly follow each other, inherently holds the mind readily. That's why children love lively music. It gives the mind no chance to wander, subtly illustrating concentration through artistic engagement. He also distinguished scientific music, like Drupad, Khyal, rigid structure, from music with feeling, like Kirtana, emotional depth, asserting feeling is the soul, the secret of everything. He encouraged collecting folk songs and applying classical principles to them to create perfect music resonating with the masses.
Interesting distinction. And art.
Regarding art, he offered a profound definition. True art can be compared to a lily which springs from the ground, takes its nourishment from the ground, is in touch with the ground, and yet is quite high above it.
Rooted, but reaching higher.
Exactly. It implies true art must be in touch with nature and reality, but also elevate beyond it, expressing higher ideals, beauty. He considered drama the most difficult art form, demanding satisfaction for both ears and eyes while maintaining a singular central interest. This shows his deep understanding of art's capacity to reflect, elevate, and profoundly impact human experience, making it a vital component of a truly holistic education developing both intellect and aesthetic sensibility. Outro.
Wow, okay. This deep dive has truly been, well, man-making and character-building just listening to it. Swami Vivekānanda's ideas, they remain incredibly relevant today, don't they? Especially if we understand them in their true spirit, beyond just job training.
Absolutely. His vision of education wasn't merely about acquiring bookish knowledge or securing a career. It was about the complete transformation of the human being, creating a sampurnamanav, a complete human being, imbued with spirituality, robust moral values, unwavering concentration, and a profound sense of social responsibility. And as we've discussed, international bodies like UNESCO profoundly resonate with his views, universal values, tolerance, lifelong learning, moving away from rote memorization. His holistic approach is truly timeless.
And his powerful statement that education has yet to be in the world and civilization has begun nowhere yet, gosh, that still rings so true today.
It really does.
Until we truly manifest that divine potential within everyone and actively dismantle social inequalities, true civilization, in his really profound sense, it just hasn't arrived. It's humbling and incredibly thought-provoking.
And that is precisely the powerful thought we want to leave with you, our listener, today. If we redefine education not merely as accumulating knowledge, but as awakening our inherent inner strength, purity, divinity, are we then guiding our society towards a future where every individual, regardless of circumstance, can genuinely realize their fullest potential? Something to consider deeply.
That's a profound note to end on, absolutely. With that thought, we conclude today's deep dives. We sincerely hope you found this exploration into Swami Vivekānanda's insights both enriching and maybe even inspiring. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into new source material. Take care, and thank you for joining us.